welcome everybody. Welcome to our panel today. Delighted to be hosting. My name is Nathan Blair. I am the founder of the Somatic School and hope you're enjoying Planet Somatic today. It's been fun. We've had some good sessions. We've been all around the globe. We've been following the sun around the world from the wee early hours of the morning, sunrise in Australia to sunset in the UK. Just by a show of hands, who's been attending some of the other sessions? Has anyone made it to any of them yet? Yeah, cool. Lovely. Good stuff. And let's see who's in the room. We've got Merja from Finland. Welcome from Martha coming from Warwick. Sandra from Switzerland. Great. Sarah from Ireland. Amelia coming from the UK. Siobhan. Yeah, you're interested in how to integrate somatics into coaching. Wonderful. So you're in the right place, and that's in fact exactly what we are looking at today. We are the name of this particular panel is blending somatics into your coaching practice. So Siobhan, you're absolutely in the right place for that. We'll have a panel conversation. We've got three amazing Somanauts, alumni of our accredited diploma in body into coaching here, and members of our Somanauts community. Michaela, Kate, and Lisa, we'll have a conversation, but I invite you throughout to share your questions in the chat, because at any point I might be able to just dip into the chat. If there's a kind of very alive or salient question that wants to kind of enter into the space, we can pull that in, and then we'll hopefully have a bit of time for a Q&A after we finished our panel conversation, and you'll have an opportunity to ask questions directly to our amazing panel of Somanauts today. Sound good to everyone? Yeah, great. Lovely. Fab. So in that case, I think perhaps, let's see here. Just to kind of get some of your voices in the room before I turn it to our panel, I'd like to ask that same question to you and invite a few of you to unmute, just because I think it's always nice to bring you into the space with us. So, what was it about this particular panel that resonated with you, that had you register and want to attend? Yeah, Sarah, I think I saw you unmute there. Was that because you wanted to jump in there?
Oh no, yeah, I did. Sorry, and I actually clicked it again by accident. Sorry. Yeah, no, really that. So like I've been running a little class to introduce people to the basics of somatic dance. I think it's a really nice way for people to be introduced to the entire concept, really. And I just think that the panelists and everything, the perspectives, so it's like from so many different sides, and it kind of gets into everything, and people mentioning like dealing with emotional things that come up during practices and all that kind of stuff. It feels like I haven't had a lot of contact with somatic practitioners. I've literally just met a yoga teacher who's trained, and we're chatting about it and about future classes. And that's the only other person until now that I've really like heard much from. So this is amazing, and that like I couldn't pass it up. It's amazing.
Wow, amazing, Sarah. Yeah, you are in good company. Fantastic. You're amongst friends here. This is I hope that if there's anyone that you hear sharing, or any conversations that you have with anyone, and I hope that you build connections and start to build that peer group and community of like-minded.
I hope so too.
Yeah. Cool. Good stuff. Good to have you here, and wonderful opportunity for you to hear from some people who have been doing this for a while. Then that's great. Okay, great. Anyone else want to share before we get started for the panel? Yeah, Genevieve.
Hi, I just had to jump in after hearing from Sarah. So I'm here because I have been a coach for 20 years. I've been a massage therapist for 23 years. I also study dramaturgy and sort of theater practice, and I'm currently doing a PhD in poetics and somatics. So at the age of 55, I'm trying to like integrate. So the word integrate is high on my list. And I'm really interested in sort of the language of dance, and how, because there's a long history of dance and somatic sort of language in the theater world, but not necessarily in the like how to live a good life world, So I'm really excited to see. I think I probably intuitively do a lot of the things, but scaffolding and structure makes me feel so at home and whole. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you all have done that I can sort of lean into and rest in.
Yeah,
Wow,
love that.
yeah.
Did you like that too, Sarah? You're also still unmuted.
I'm actually like it's giving me a feeling because I trained in theatre production. That's well after my introduction to dance and everything like that, as a very, very long time ago. I haven't actually been in college for over 20 years, but all the same, to, what she was saying just resonated really hard with me, like, because years ago during drama and theatre training and actually acting and everything like that, the feeling was hard to describe. It wasn't the feeling of it wasn't just the feeling of performance. It was never really that for me. So I can see the link so clearly now that I couldn't describe years ago. And when she was talking about that, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to hear that.
Beautiful, lovely already. So mutual resonances in the space. That's such a lovely thing to see. And Genevieve, thank you very much for sharing. It's lovely to hear from you. And you said a few things. Scaffolding, Genevieve. Genevieve, is that pronouncing it incorrectly there? Yeah. Great. So scaffolding, you mentioned something about scaffolding, the importance of integration, and something about being able to rest into that, and that's really the spirit of thing, how we approach things here at the Somatic School. Having a framework that you can rest into, fall back on, and one that is inherently integrative, and allows for further integration to happen. So you're already kind of teeing us up for this conversation, both you, Sarah, Genevieve, and everyone that shared in the chat. So thank you very much. It's so lovely to bring you into the space and to hear some of your voices and know who we're with today. So I'm going to turn our attention now to our panelists. And let's see, I'm going to spotlight you guys. So hope you're ready for your close-ups. Let's see. And spotlight there, and we've got, of course, last but not least, absolutely, Lisa. Here you go. Now, question is, can I spotlight myself? Let's see. Think so. Yeah, fab. Cool. Can everyone see themselves now? Had you hidden your self view before? Yeah, I know it's a bit odd, isn't it? Try to ignore yourself in the corner of the screen. I feel the same. Let me see if I can. No can do. We'll have to live with ourselves then. Good stuff. Welcome everybody. Good to have you here. Thank you so much, Kate, Michaela, Lisa, for volunteering to come and do this panel with us. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today. So before we get started, I guess the topic that we're with then is blending somatics into our coaching practice. But before we get started in that conversation, maybe I can ask each of you to just introduce yourselves just for the group today, and we can so we can get to know who we're with. Who are our panelists today?
I can start. Hi, I'm Michaela. I am connecting with you guys from Helsinki, Finland. And I've kind of grown up all across Europe, and it's been in this environment of very multicultural and international spaces. So that's gifted me this experience of lots of different worldviews and perspectives, which I very much blend into my coaching and my love for lots of modalities and blending them. My background is in graphic design, and I specialize and have a passion for visual branding in particular. And it was back in 2021 that I felt that inner call for coaching to jump on that train, and have been on this journey of training in various coaching courses since then, starting off with the Dharma Coaching Institute, which was all about life purpose coaching and spiritual coaching. And then with the lovely Somatic School, which I was doing earlier this year. And then I've found myself unexpectedly on yet another one, which I'm in right now with the School of Universal Laws, which looks at how we can balance our polarized perceptions using these laws. So I have this passion for just blending all these worlds together so that we can really bring our most expressed and embodied selves. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Michaela.
I'll go ahead and pigtail off that. So hello, everyone. I am Lisa Bonk. I am a professional certified coach and norm-informed practitioner. And I just want to say I was a big yes to joining this conversation, even at the early hour of 7 a.m. here in LA, because the Somatic School really played a big part in helping me fulfill a career-long mission of facilitating true and lasting transformation. So I'll get right into the focus of my work, because otherwise I am a tangent trolley. And so the focus of my work is really rooted in creating the right conditions for my clients to reclaim a deeper sense of wholeness, authenticity, and live more fully, just feeling aligned, empowered, liberated, and truly at home in themselves. In my work, this happens through disidentifying from survival patterns, reconnecting to our authentic core, and cultivating vital inner capacities. So all from the fertile soil of radical compassion and acceptance. I could say a bit more. There seemed to be a pause there. And so, this all starts from developing self and presence, which was one of the biggest takeaways from the Somatic School, the introduction to focusing work. And this work from that state of being of self and presence, where you have the ability to turn toward anything you're feeling, any situation in your life with calm curiosity. From this state of being, clients can reconnect with emotions and parts of themselves that have been previously disconnected from, split off. They can expand their capacity for deeper connection, aliveness, and possibility, and just build the resilience to hold the full range of the human experience without needing to check out, disconnect, or run away from themselves. So that, in a nutshell, is my work.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lisa. We'll have to get the transcript from that and share that. Whenever someone says, why are we learning self and presence? We'll share that. We'll just share what you just said. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. That's amazing. Beautiful. Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Lisa. Kate, coming to you then.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Kate Avery. I'm on the south coast of the UK in Brighton. Every time I go to introduce myself, I think it changes, and in some ways it's as emergent and evolving as my work. And I like that. I used to struggle with it, and now I'm actually quite happy with it, because I do believe that that's a really big thing about the somatic work and the embodiment work, in that we're always evolving, it's always emergent. So I'm going with that now. I'm interested in, and I work in the space of change. So the thresholds that people go through, whether it's personal change or professional change, those kind of liminal spaces that feel quite disorienting, feel quite difficult and challenging to move through. I'm interested in supporting people through those spaces of transition. I work with 3 pillars predominantly. I'm a coach and a facilitator. I work with 3 pillars, the breath, body, and nature. I guess there's a 4th, there's the mind, because everything's integrated. So when I first started the somatic journey myself, I was all about everything has to be the body, and let's disregard anything that the mind has to say. And that's definitely changed on my own personal journey. So yeah, maybe there's 4 pillars, the mind, breath, body, and nature. I work predominantly with 2 groups, leaders, so embodied leadership and how you can bring embodiment somatics breathwork into leadership for presence and impact. And then people navigating through midlife transition and how you do that with more steady, more resilience, more resourcing. And then I have a third kind of passion project on the side, which is where I blend my own love of music, dancing, breathwork, and embodiment. So that's currently called Soma Sessions, and it's live DJ sessions with kind of embodiment work in there. So yeah, that's what I'm up to at the moment.
Fantastic. Wow, Soma sessions sound like a lot of fun. Thank you, Kate. That sounds amazing. Fantastic. So just going to quickly check in the chat before we open up to our first question, then to each of you. But first of all, thank you very much for introducing yourselves to all of us. Personally, it's lovely to get to know each of you a bit better. By the way, I'm talking to you, Kate, Michaela, and Lisa. I know I said I checked the chat, but I just wanted to acknowledge your shares there. Thank you very much. And then yeah, let's see. Okay. Cool, lovely, nice, cool, fantastic. Okay, cool. So we're good to go then. I think then already then hopefully the attendees today can hear that we've got some really if I may say so myself, some fascinating human beings to be in the conversation with today. Each of you are doing things that I imagine that may have at one point in your lives been a kind of a vision or a dream for you. And it sounds like, you know, if it doesn't yet feel like your visions are actualizing, I would imagine that you absolutely are living out the visions of many people probably here at this event today. So it's worth noting and acknowledging that you've done what many people dream of doing, you know, and you've taken the actions and moved in that direction of actually having those dreams come true. So good for you, and let's kind of dig in a little bit and see, well, let's kind of unpack and explore some of what that journey's been like for you, in particular because our topic here is blending somatics into coaching practice. Perhaps we can start there. Each of you have diverse practices. We can hear big differences in the way that each of you practice, and yet the thing that you each share in common is that you're each somanauts. Each of you trained here at the Somatic School, and you all are certified body oriented coaches. And so with that in mind, curious, now a precursor to this, first of all, it's like a two-part question. So the first part is, what were you doing just before the Somatic School? So you've told us each of you have an amazing list of various credentials and various ways that you bring that to your clients. But what were you doing just before, like in the moment that you joined the Somatic School? What was your, at that point, your current qualifications at that time and the way that you were working? And then the second part of the question is, how then was it for you to then learn body oriented coaching and begin to integrate that into your practice and your work? Got that? So there's two parts. What were you doing just before? What were your qualifications? Yeah, where were you at that point of coming to train? And then having done the training, what was that like, beginning to integrate the body oriented coaching skill set into the work that you were doing? Yeah. And anyone can go, and feel free to riff off each other here. Like we said before, you can just
I can jump in, Nathan. I just before I was at the school, I termed myself a corporate escapee. So I have a 20-year executive career before I set up my own business nearly 5 years ago. And so my experience was sort of being in high growth, very fast paced, quite stressful corporate environments. And I left to set up my own business, and I thought I'll be doing executive coaching and leadership development. That's what made sense to me. It was the world that I came from. And about 6 months into my business, I found myself sitting there feeling pretty similar to how I'd felt in my corporate role. I was overwhelmed, I was stressed, I was sort of at the mercy of all the bad habits and ways of working that I had been subject to in the corporate world. And the only difference was I didn't really have anyone else to blame. And so I thought, okay, I need to start looking at myself and how I'm working. And I can't remember quite how I got into the somatic world, but somehow I found the somatic world and things started to really shift. And that's the point that I decided to train in somatic coaching, because I realized that a lot of how I was showing up and working both in my old executive role, but also in my new business owner role, were the result of these kind of underlying patterns. And it didn't really matter what strategies and tactics I used, they weren't shifting. So that's what brought me into the Somatic School. And I think probably for the first few months, and certainly, you know, after I graduated, it was more personal process than it was anything else. It was really understanding and integrating what embodiment meant, what it meant to actually be in touch with the patterns that I was being driven by. And so I spent a lot of time actually on my own personal growth. I would say I stepped away a little bit from my business. And then as I understood it better, it just became a no-brainer to build it into my coaching. I completely shifted the way I coached. The old way of coaching had never really felt like the right way of coaching for me, and this just opened up something completely different. So in some ways it's hard to articulate, but there was something in me that shifted, and this became it has to be part of my coaching practice.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kate, for starting us off with that. Can I just check, actually, just as a curiosity from all three of you, were each of you coaching before the Somatic School? Each of you were doing some sort of coaching client work? Okay. Yeah, and there'll be many of you here today who are coming to this completely new, and you're not yet a coach, and that's quite usual as well. And this is interesting because we can understand how are you taking your original kind of coaching work and bringing these skills into that. So great. And feel free to add to that after you've heard what the others share as well, Kate, if there's any kind of thing that pings for you, of course, naturally. Same for the other two. Yeah, go for it, Lisa.
Oh, okay. I will pop in. Yeah, you know, I'll trail this back. I had already been coaching for 5 years before, you know, focusing on coaching for 5 years before coming to the Somatic School. Previous to that, probably another 5 years in alternative healing, breathwork facilitation, energy healings, life purpose readings that were very intuitive. And the common theme through all of that, and even before that, I was actually coaching in a holistic health practice and working with clients there who were dealing with chronic issues that, you know, Western medicine didn't have resolution for. And even then, I think that was when I first noticed my spark, my mission, my gift there. And it was people who were making progress and then what we might think of as sabotaging progress. It was that. And then also just having that empathy of like knowing and feeling there was something deeper. So I came into this struggle of with a maddening gap that I was seeing with people through all of these different modalities. And that gap being the space between what they consciously wanted and what they actually did. So, you know, that was that mission to figure out what is that invisible force that I even experienced in my own life. So it was clear to me once I was in more traditional coaching that it was very limited. It was very focused on mindset, strategy, and overlooked a lot of the deeper imprints of conditioning and trauma, all of that. So I just continued my education there. I was already working somatically in some places, but back then, because somatics hadn't exploded yet, you had to piecemeal, you had to bring it all together myself. So when I saw the Somatic School's cohesive program, and then the intro session, there was like a resonant buzz. I was just like, yes, full in. I jumped in to enroll. So that's leading up to your door.
Fantastic. Lovely. Yeah, great. Okay, they can jump. So I feel like you're leading us up. You've led us up to the door, and then I guess what comes next after Michaela shared, we can kind of get into a little bit more of what it was like to do that. Okay, great, lovely. Okay, they go for it.
Yeah, so I had a year earlier finished the Dharma Coaching Institute, and it was an amazing experience because I found not only my calling and my mission, but I also found my people, because I'd been very lonely in the world for quite some time when it comes to community. And so I found that like-hearted, like-minded community there. But I did feel that there was something still that I wanted to deepen into, and I hadn't quite realized even what the word somatic means, even though from the very start my coaching has been somatic, because I started off with EFT, with the emotional freedom technique, tapping on meridian points. And yeah, my very first kind of experience with coaching was with a very eager friend of mine who believed in me when I definitely didn't, and let me coach her for about 100+ hours with the EFT. And we had in the Dharma Coaching Institute a module on somatics, and I really resonated with that. So it became quite clear that that's the direction I wanted to go in. And then I joined last year's event, the Embodied Business Symposium. And within 5 minutes of arriving in Caro Gomez's session, I was in tears. I felt like I had come home. And yeah, it was just, again, that same resonance I had felt in the first course. And I knew I was in the right place. And it's given me all the kind of gaps that I felt in my coaching practice. It's filled those and more, and it's given me a really strong foundation. I kind of see it as like the body-oriented coaching gives you this well-equipped kitchen, and then all the modalities are the ingredients that kind of flow into your session from there. But it's the basis for all my coaching now.
Well, thank you, Michaela. And you've sort of teed us up, I think, for that second part of that question then, in a way. So when you say it's the foundation for your coaching, what does that mean? And I guess I'll ask you the question, Michaela, but this is for you, Lisa, and Kate as well. How did this body-oriented coaching, the integrative framework, to use to kind of echo what was shared earlier by one of our attendees, and the integrative framework and the body-oriented coaching skill set, how has that added to, complemented, enriched your coaching practice? And Michaela, maybe something about this, it becoming a foundation. That's really interesting. So maybe we can start with you and just understand what do you mean by that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think first it's good to mention that for me, what was so life-altering about jumping into this world was it felt like a paradigm shift, a new way of thinking, especially when I was introduced to parts work. When I was still at the Dharma Coaching Institute, I had a wonderful master coach who recommended this book to me called Unarmored: Finding Home in the Wild Edges of Being Human by Alison Crow. And it introduced me to parts work and IFS, which is one of the modalities I then started exploring and incorporating into my coaching. And yeah, in a way, it made life make sense for the first time to me. There was something off about how things were being taught and conventional coaching and things that I didn't resonate with. And it made things feel simple. And instead of like layering on frameworks and things, somehow it kind of just strips back everything except for the very essentials and the essence. And I'm passionate about diving deep into essence. So I think that is what I mean with it's foundational. It just takes the very core human pieces and creates this foundation from which things can naturally emerge. And then we can, bring in frameworks and modalities on top of that.
Love that. But before we come to you, Kate and Lisa, about this, either of you, if you've got to share, Michaela, just a quick follow-up question. You mentioned like there were some things about the more conventional, traditional coaching that for you weren't, I can't remember the language you used, but it wasn't resonating in some way. I can't remember exactly what you said. And then it seemed that this was making things simple, and you said it was stripping back. Could you give us some specifics on each of those sides? Like, what was it about conventional or traditional coaching that wasn't quite resonating at the time? What was it that simplified things for you?
Yeah, I mean, the main paradigm shift is in all parts are welcome. And in a lot of coaching, that isn't the case. It's we're still, even though we say that we're not trying to fix things, it feels like we are in certain ways and more conventional approaches. And the body-oriented coaching and somatic coaching just brings this mindset of everything is welcome. We respond to what's alive, and we trust the organic intelligence. And the organic intelligence especially was not something that was given much emphasis or seen as valuable really in the conventional coaching. So that felt like a missing piece.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
I might that really resonates with me, what Michaela's just shared, because I've always felt a little bit restricted and constrained by the sort of traditional forms of coaching. Or I mean, my background, I trained as an executive coach, and it's very formulaic and it's very tools driven. And actually in some cases I've trained with other body oriented and somatic coach programs, and even in those I've come across the same thing, where it's very sort of like, here's a tool, here's a tool, here's a tool. And what I really love about both how I was trained at the Somatic School, but how I've then sort of weaved together the different components of how I work, is that I see coaching as a process, a partnership, and in a process. And to Michaela's point, you can't leave parts of the client out of that. And there is such a wealth of information in the body, in the felt sense, and really the chance to be with that is what I really love about how this kind of coaching works. So I remember very early on when we did focusing, and I've done some focusing training since, we talked about Gendlin's view that really there's only two things that inform whether, I mean, he was talking about therapy, but it can extend to coaching as well, is successful or not. And it's the ability of the client to get into the body, and the relational space between the client and the therapist or the coach. And I think what I love about this kind of coaching is that it really focuses on that relational space. It really focuses on how you're partnering, rather than the coach being there just to deliver a structure or a tool to help someone think in a different way. So yeah, that really resonated with me.
Yeah, that's rich, and I love that from Eugene Gendlin there. That's that lines up, that adds up for my experience, and thank you very much for sharing that, Kate. Yeah, fantastic.
I'll hop in with this, and it's going to sound a bit of a brag on the Somatic School. There were so many things. I tried to reduce it to maybe 3 or 4 takeaways from the program. One, I knocked on your door because I really needed that foundational skill set for facilitating lasting transformation, but also doing so confidently, consistently, and with clear coaching boundaries. So when I was saying I had to piece together somatic things, the whole time I'm like in the depths and saying, is this crossing the line into therapy? All of that sort of thing. And that was, getting me in the way and making me bumbly with my practice. It also really equipped me with such a variety of modalities that were so perfectly brought together in the program. And it just, that enabled me to really access a method here and work with agility in a way that would make it truly accessible for every client that sat before me. It also kept things fun and fresh, and my clients got to experience different ways, points of entry into their body wisdom, which really developed a self-trust in their own capacities and innate wisdoms. Another huge thing that this training here at the Somatic School gave me was just moving from efforting to ease. And even today, it's been, 4 or 5 years since leaving, and I'm hearing my trainer, Paul, telling me, how can this be easy, in every coaching session. Just the practical delivery of the principles of Feldenkrais non-doing and the experimental mindset was a total game changer for me, and it shifted me out of over efforting and over responsibility, attachment to outcomes. It was, the roots of burnout in this field. So now I can show up with more presence, more trust in myself, and trust that my client is the expert with all the answers within them. We'll get there. So that was very freeing to not have to figure anything out. And it also shifted preparation for coaching, being on my condition as a coach and being present, where I can attune more deeply instead of what do I have to be ready for? What answers, do I have to have? And then the last thing, introducing me to focusing. The felt shift really is like the hugest transformative, powerful piece I've ever seen. There's something so magical in that moment where you can feel and attune and you see your client like just shift, and they went from a moment of doubt to like knowing beyond any doubt that I'm good. Here's what I want to move into. And they turn over a lifelong pattern of something they've been fearful of and then just come into the next session as if that was never a thing. And it's like nothing I've ever witnessed before.
Amen to that. Kate, I saw you ping when Lisa said something about the roots of burnout in the thing. So I wondered if you wanted to riff on that at all. The some of the things that Lisa was pointing to, I think, of the tendencies that she was used to prior to the. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean. Certainly, I think my ears pricked up because it just, it resonated. And I see it in myself. I see it in clients that I've worked with. We're sort of chasing these same patterns over and over again. And I think sometimes, this attachment to an outcome in traditional coaching was something that I really struggled with, and trying to get people past their patterns, trying to get people to resolve their issues. And the irony being that they're not cognitive or intellectual things that you can really think your way out of, but they are the things that are causing that kind of slow slide into burnout, those repetitive patterns that just can't be shifted. And I think the thing that I notice most about the felt sense work is that that sort of aha moment that comes in a lot of coaching spaces, and I'm a little bit allergic to that term because it's used so much, but it really is, it doesn't come for the most part from another intellectual piece of knowing. It comes from someone. I mean, I work a lot with boundaries with women, for example, being able to say no, being able to put boundaries in place, being able to manage everything that they're trying to juggle, which is, often really, really difficult when you've got societal conditions coming in as well. And actually that ability to do that doesn't come with knowing how to say no. It comes with a shift in the felt sense of what no feels like in the body. And so it really is, I'm not sure what that connection was when Lisa said that, but there was definitely something like this. Yes, that makes sense to me.
Super fantastic. So I want to ask another question to you as a trio here. We've spoken about how body-oriented coaching kind of integrated into your practice. Now I'm curious, one of the things we say about body-oriented coaching is it's it has porous membranes, this particular skill set allows information to travel in and out. It's not a closed, it's not a closed methodology. So in other words, the skills that you had prior could be absorbed into it. Like you said, Michaela, this has become a foundation on top of which the other bits kind of come in. And many of you have gone on to do further training after graduating on our diploma. So I'm curious, what's it like for you blending other modalities into body-oriented coaching? How are you integrating, there's that word again, integrating, but how are you integrating within your practices other modalities? Now, just a quick thing on this could either be coaching, therapeutic modality, coaching or therapeutic modalities, but I'd also like to offer as well the possibility of speaking about how you're blending this into, or maybe actually I'll hold that one. Yeah, let's first stick with the modalities and how you're doing some of that blending. Yeah.
Yeah, I can go. So I think what's top of my mind is the school universal law stuff that I'm learning now, and how it can be quite methodical and step by step and linear. And when I've been practicing with some of my fellow somanauts, on this, they've been saying, oh, it's a bit tick listy, it's a bit cognitive, a bit this. So the somatic tools have allowed me to bring in this somatic aspect to all of those processes so that they become much more easeful and letting the body lead. And we're actually having to work a lot less hard. We're working smart now together with the body and that organic intelligence that's emerging naturally from within. So it's I'm so happy that I did it in this order, because bringing in the somatics to this new kind of work has just elevated it to a whole new level.
You know, something you said, Nathan, about this being porous, and I definitely feel that has been the case for me, and it really has allowed me to weave other modalities, just with that agility, as I've already mentioned before, but in a very attuned, intuitive, and fluid way. So even I can really meet the moment and the client, and I can switch up a modality without them necessarily knowing. Going from something I learned at somatic school and then, popping my IFS hat, working with protectors if they approach. I also bring in modalities, especially with a trauma-informed lens. So with that, I bring in NARM a lot, and this really helps me map and track my client's self-organization, sense of safety, and readiness for being with more challenging emotions without forcing, and so that I can help them titrate in order to integrate. And I know I'm using some terms here I'm not sure everybody's familiar with, but titrating, pendulation as a way of just touching in to, a little bit of activation, pulling back out, maybe doing some resourcing as well. So something that's been huge is bringing from internal family systems is, maybe we all know this phenomenon where the coachee comes in, sets a goal for what they want, but then we find out they want something deeper, something different from that. And I've just identified this as, this is often set by a manager using the IFS terminology. The initial goal is set by a manager. They have an agenda. So it's really shortened the process of finding out what we really want to get to by having that IFS lens and just shifting them into self and presence, working with protectors as a foundational thing to really get to what they really want to have happen. And I also feel like it opens up for more successful intervention when you bring in something somatic. Like, I'll give an example of one time I tried looping, and really it was just in a little bit too early, where we were just talking about what has happened since last coaching session. And the client came, and it was a very self-like part, speaking the agenda, self-like meaning felt really comfortable in the session, knowing what it was, just very resource, knowing what she wanted. And I went into doing a somatic check-in. Oh, when you bring that in, how do you feel? What's present for you? And it was very limited. And I felt, and Lupin is the skill of, I have my own internal experience feedback, and we can sometimes at times to bring more awareness of the somatic sensations happening here for the client. We can offer that, but as ours, we own it. We don't assume. So I offered what I was feeling. And the client was like, oh, well, yes, I am feeling that in my chest and in my stomach. However, because I wasn't self in presence, the client wasn't self in presence yet. There were probably protector parts hearing that, oh, we touched into some emotions we weren't yet ready from. In next session, she canceled. She had spilled tea on her on herself and had to cancel. Things fell out. So that's kind of what we call protector backlash. So when they're not ready. So I noticed, like, using looping, sometimes it might be that the client might not be ready to be seen yet or touch into certain emotions. It might be going too fast and then they sneak back. So I think it's so important for me to bring in these other kind of trauma-informed or awareness of how the client is organizing before the interventions. And that's made it very powerful for me to meet people.
Great. Cool. Lovely. So I'm mindful of time. I think I just want to check in. Was there anything else on that last question that either Kate or Michaela wants to share? And I'll offer just a little bonus thing before we open up to the group for maybe one or two questions, or maybe one question, I think. Is there any other way that you're applying these body-oriented coaching skills in other areas of your life? Like, for example, so one of the modalities, Kate, I know you've integrated into TRE. I think some of the body-oriented coaching in TRE, and Michaela, I know that you've integrated some of the body-oriented coaching into graphic design. So, maybe each of you could speak on maybe that or something else, and then we'll open it to the group maybe for one question, and then we'll wrap for today. It's amazing how fast the time flies, when you're having fun.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, starting off with kind of how I am blending the two, because when I first started my coaching journey, I still was of the mindset of I need to choose one or the other. I was very much like, I gotta leave design world behind and go full into coaching. And then it was in a practice coaching session where one of my peers asked me, what if you combine them? And that question was pivotal for me because I'd never considered it before. And I've been on that path ever since to what does that look like when I combine them? And so now, like, all my design is infused with coaching. And even like my promise is that it's not done until it's a full body yes. And like bringing in these kind of somatic experiences throughout to check in with their body mind of how is everything landing, and then also making sure that when you're building a brand identity that their nervous system is going along on the journey, because it can be quite scary to have some beautiful brand identity and then like feel like you need to embody that suddenly up level to meet it. So by having the coaching infused, it allows to bring the nervous system with you on that journey. It's been really powerful.
That's a very cool, innovative application of this. I love that. Thanks, Kate. Do you want to, anything on the blending there?
Yeah, actually, I'd probably point to more the way that I like to blend things together in my practice is to give people an opportunity to expand how they experience themselves. Because in traditional coaching, we're just using this part and there's so much more. And so one of the things that I combine together is nature-based facilitation and body-oriented coaching. So using nature as a mirror and a metaphor in how people expand their self-awareness is a really powerful way of helping them feel into that. And I also bring breath work in, and this has been a game changer for me in the last few months, I'd say in the last year. It felt really ironic that I wasn't using breath work as a body-oriented coach, because it's such a powerful modality to get people into their body. It's literally the connector between the outside world and the inside world. So bringing breath work in to help people get their steady, to explore their internal world has been really powerful. And I find that it really supports in those moments of transition that feel really destabilized. And obviously we're finding that balance between therapy and coaching here, right? And I always wanted to be a coach and not a therapist, but there's a huge amount that breathwork can do to get people sort of back onto a steady, even keel to explore what they want to explore. So they're two really powerful ways that I find work well with clients.
Amazing. Well, thank you all of you for your shares so far. This has been fantastic, and I want to open this to one lucky attendee. This is a very privileged position to be able to be the chosen question for our panel. So no pressure. So yeah, does anybody have a question? And honestly, even if it's what you think in your mind is the simplest question, we're going to go for every question as a great question here. So anyone got any question at all, and we'll let the panel riff on that for the last few minutes here. Genevieve is thinking about it. Yeah.
I'm happy to ask, but I don't want to overtake if someone else was wanting to ask. So
it's all you. It's all you.
So when we learn new ways of being in the world, sometimes it makes it difficult to live in the world. Like, I'm thinking of having been an executive coach in that highly challenging world and operating, helping people achieve success in that very sort of, let's call it a linear, neck up way. And like all of you, I've always had other information teaching you. But when you came through the somatic school, did you experience any sort of disjoint between what you now know how to be in the world and what everyone else around you seems to be doing? And if so, how did you deal with that? You know, like suddenly you're an alien. Did you find oxygen tanks? Do you know what I mean?
I'm happy to, that is a brilliant question. I'm happy to jump in with my experience on that. I have had a feeling since I sort of explored deeper into this world, and I'm very passionate about regenerative work as well. So there's a crossover there. It's really, really difficult to stay steady in a world that seems to be set up to kind of dismantle that. And it's really difficult to stay steady when the systems are sort of acting against you as well. So there are two things that I come back to over and over again. One is community, the community of people that get this. And for me, I have stepped away from some communities which just I didn't find nourishing or resourcing anymore. Some people that just didn't align, and sometimes that's something that you have to make a decision if you're really passionate about moving in the direction that you want to go in. So finding your people, finding the community, finding the people, you know, those people that share your values and your passions. And the other thing is practice. And you know, there's this thing that we talk about in change, that you're on one shore and you need to get to another shore, and you've got to get on a ship to get there, and at some point you're kind of in the middle of the ocean on this ship and you can't see either of them anymore. And it might be easier to go back to where you know. That would be safer. It would probably feel safer in the body. It would be, you know, you kind of know your place there, you know how everything works. But if you want to get to sort of the other side, so to speak, or continue your journey, it's about practice. And so what are the resourcing practices that you can come back to time and time again, that nourish you, that sustain you, that keep you going? And there's something for me about body-oriented work, and it's probably the hardest thing that I find my clients struggle with, is the work doesn't happen in a coaching session. The work happens, maybe the sort of okay, now I need to do this happens, but the work happens in the practice that you put in between sessions, and how dedicated you are to changing what it is that you want to change. And so practicing when you don't need to is really important, so that you've got that capacity and that capability when you do need to.
Beautiful. So we had one question, Genevieve, fantastic question, and one fantastic response. And that is all we have time for. I'm sorry, Michaela and Lisa, but I want to thank all of you so much for joining us on this panel. That was wonderful being in dialogue with each of you. Yeah, and I'll remove our spotlights, but thank you again for coming and for being part of this conversation. I'm going to remove the spotlights for just a moment, and then we'll open back to the group for a minute here. Let's see there. Okay, okie doke. So thank you for our panelists. Thanks to our panelists. Feel free to share in the chat anything that you'd like to you know, offer the panelists today, or any big reflections that have come up for you. Maybe that'd be a nice thing to, you know, what's been the thing that's pinged for you, or a moment of particular resonance for you personally or professionally. And you can just drop that in the chat. In the meantime, I'll just kind of tee you up for what's coming next. So this, where are we here? Here we are. Up next in half an hour, we're just over now, is Diverse Bodies, Diverse Practices in Europe. So we're looking at, Whitney's going to be hosting another panel, speaking with Somanauts from around Europe, and how they are experiencing body oriented coaching as they practice within these different parts of Europe, and the kind of maybe some of the applications or the adjustments they're making for their particular culture, their particular location. That could be interesting to attend that. And then, of course, we've got 3 more sessions after that. If you are here today and you are considering certifying as a body oriented coach, then in that case, I'd love to just invite you to attend one of our free introduction to body oriented coaching sessions. It's a great place to learn more about the training that you've heard Michaela, Lisa, and Kate allude to, and you'll hear about how that's structured, the details of that particular training. Some of you may have attended one of those events, but if you haven't, you can scan that QR code there on the left to do that. Or if you're interested in the training, you can also, I'd like to invite anyone here who's curious about becoming a body oriented coach. You can just share yes in the chat now, and one of our course consultants will follow up with you afterwards. You can also book a call directly with that second QR code, but just an invitation here just to type yes into the chat for those of you who are genuinely considering becoming a body oriented coach, to get a little follow-up from our course consultants to check in with you. And no one ever enrolls on our training without having a conversation first. We want to make sure that it is genuinely the right fit for you, and so you won't be embarking on this learning journey unless it's absolutely perfect for what you want and what you need, and your vision for yourself and your career and the way you'd like to serve in the world. One final thing from me here is that we do actually have a little enrollment offer for those of you who are attending Planet Somatic. It's for those of you enrolling on our accredited diploma in body oriented coaching in the next 14 days, you'll actually get included our certificate in body oriented group coaching. So if you're interested in learning to work with groups in a body oriented coaching way, then that course is actually included along with, and this is, I'm sorry, Kate, Michaela, and Lisa, you'll be like, where was this offer when I joined? You'll also get 4 one-to-one coach supervision sessions included as well, all at no additional cost, amongst another host of benefits that are not on this slide, but are included for the Planet Somatic enrollees, let's say. Thank you again for coming along to our event, for coming along to Planet Somatic, and for coming to this particular session. And again, a special thanks to Lisa, Michaela, and Kate for being our incredible panelists today. Thank you for the inspiration and for the wisdom to echo what I see there in the chat. Somebody said so much wisdom. I couldn't agree more. Thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the summit. Thank you for coming. Take good care. Have a great rest of your day.